Welcome to the deep dive. Think about your social media feed for a second. Picture that perfectly filtered selfie, maybe a lavish vacation that seems sponsored, but you're not quite sure,
Mhm.
or maybe a new gadget just sort of popping up in an influencer's everyday life.
Yeah, seamlessly.
Exactly. Well, our sources today suggest that for millions of young people, this isn't just, scrolling entertainment. It's a daily feed of these really carefully crafted
And
realities.
these realities can subtly, maybe powerfully, chip away at their self-esteem, shape how they see the world.
So today, we're really getting into what feels like a growing mental health issue stemming from this pervasive influencer culture.
Mm.
And we're asking, what can we actually do about it?
Right.
We've looked at some really insightful research, and we're set to unpack the direct psychological effects on young people. Then we'll dive into the arguments, for and against regulation.
The goal is to give you a clear, kind of comprehensive picture of this really complex issue.
Yeah.
What strikes me as fascinating here is how these digital spaces, often just seen as harmless fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
How they intersect with the unique vulnerabilities of a young, developing audience. Our deep dive today aims to cut through some of that noise.
Okay.
We want to show you not just what's being promoted, but maybe more importantly, how it's being presented and the impact that has.
Okay, let's unpack that impact first.
Mm.
Our sources really highlight that influencer culture, well, at its heart, it's a very sophisticated type of marketing, isn't it? Built on these aspirational lifestyles.
Absolutely. It's marketing 2.0 in a way.
And for young people, their identities, their self-esteem, it's all still forming, still in flux.
Which makes them particularly susceptible.
So beyond just seeing perfect lives visually, what are the deeper psychological things happening? Are young people uniquely vulnerable here?
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
Our sources really dig into this concept called social comparison theory. It's fundamental to humans, but it gets supercharged during adolescence.
Yeah.
The teenage brain is basically wired to figure out who it is by looking at peers.
Yeah.
But when those peers are influencers, showing these highly edited, often unattainable lives,
It sets up a comparison they can't win.
exactly. It's a
Yeah.
constant, unwinnable game.
Mm-hmm.
One study we looked at found that teenagers spending over 3 hours a day on social media, they reported like 30% more anxiety and body image issues than those spending less time.
Wow, 3 hours. That adds up fast.
It does. And think about the sheer volume of these perfect ideals they're bombarded with.
Yeah.
It creates this relentless pressure to be something that, well, that isn't entirely real.
Yeah.
And it's not just surface-level stuff. It can trigger really deep feelings of inadequacy, low self-worth.
So it's the aspirational visuals creating impossible standards, but then there's also this constant push to buy things to achieve that ideal. Is that consumer message always obvious?
That's the other key part. Our sources suggest it's often quite subtle, almost like a subliminal conditioning. It's rarely a hard sell,
Yeah.
like an old TV ad. It's more about seamlessly weaving products into this desirable lifestyle.
So the influencer isn't just holding up a product, they're showing how it's key to their perfect morning or their amazing trip.
Precisely. Their flawless look. One report we saw mentioned how many young followers get this intense fear of missing out. FOMO.
Nah, FOMO.
If they don't have the latest gadget or the trendy clothes shown, it subtly links happiness, success, even social standing to buying things.
And that pressure it must put a strain on families financially, but also just create this feeling of never being satisfied.
Exactly. Perpetual dissatisfaction. Because there's always something new, right?
Yeah.
Always something more to want. It's a cycle that's incredibly hard for anyone, let alone a young person, to break free from.
And speaking of things that aren't always clear, our sources really focus on this blurring of lines between genuine content and, well, paid ads.
Mhm.
When that line gets so fuzzy, what does that do to young audiences?
That blurring, according to the research, it's incredibly impactful. Young people, especially, often haven't fully developed the, let's say, critical awareness to consistently spot when they're being marketed to.
They might just think the influencer genuinely loves that product.
Exactly. They might see it as a personal recommendation when it's actually a paid promotion,
Mm.
which makes them much more susceptible to, frankly, manipulative advertising.
Okay.
Our sources show this lack of clear disclosure. It erodes trust, not just in that one influencer, but maybe in the whole online space.
Right.
And it encourages impulse buys based more on emotion than actual need, often leading to regret later.
It seems like such a mismatch when you think about traditional media TV. They have clear rules for ads.
That's a key point raised. Why should the digital world, which arguably has more influence now, operate so differently? It's a fair question.
So this naturally leads us to solutions. Regulation comes up a lot. Our sources frame it not as censorship, but as creating a safer space online, particularly for younger
Oh,
users.
it's about safety nets.
So if we were designing regulations, what's the absolute cornerstone? What's the first most crucial piece?
The first and probably most emphasized area is mandatory disclosure. Clear, unambiguous disclosure.
Okay, so not just the little hashtag ad or hashtag spawn tucked away.
Exactly. Those are often just too vague, too easily missed or misunderstood, especially by younger eyes scrolling quickly.
Right.
Regulations could demand standardized, easy-to-grasp labels, like paid promotion, shown really clearly, maybe right at the start of a video or post, or maybe even a banner that stays visible.
So immediate clarity. You know upfront it's marketing.
That's the goal. It fundamentally changes the dynamic. It's not a friend's tip anymore, it's a commercial message. Our sources acknowledge potential pushback, of course, but the general feeling is that honesty up front is just non-negotiable for protecting consumers.
That makes sense. Shifting it from a recommendation to a transaction in the viewer's mind. But does it stop at labeling? Could regulations also restrict certain types of harmful content being promoted, like we see with TV ads?
Absolutely.
Mm.
And that connection to traditional media rules is important. We already have rules about advertising, things like tobacco, alcohol, maybe junk food to kids.
Yeah, those have been around for ages.
So the argument is similar restrictions could, and maybe should, apply to influencer marketing aimed at young people.
What kind of things are we talking about?
Well, promotions for cosmetic surgery, for instance, those can really fuel unrealistic beauty standards, even body dysmorphia,
Okay.
or certain weight loss products which contribute to body image issues, potentially disordered eating, even risky financial schemes sometimes pop up, targeted right at young, maybe naive audiences.
Wow, yeah.
These are all areas where young people are just particularly vulnerable. The potential for real long-term harm, both psychological and sometimes physical, is significant. A developing mind just processes these messages differently.
Okay, this next point really caught my eye. The idea of banning deceptive editing. That feels like a very direct hit at those unrealistic standards we talked about, addressing the visual manipulation itself.
Yeah.
How would that even work? And is anyone actually doing this?
What's really interesting is that, yes, some places are already doing this. It shows it's not just theoretical. It can be done.
Okay. Like where?
Regulations could require influencers to clearly state if they've used digital alterations, things like reshaping bodies or using heavy beauty filters, especially when promoting beauty or skincare stuff. It's about visual honesty.
Right.
Our sources point to Norway and the UK as examples. Norway, for instance, has a law requiring a standard label on retouched photos in ads if they alter body shape, size, or skin.
A label on the photo itself.
Yeah, it's a concrete step towards more honest representation online, pushing back against that curated perfection that can be so damaging.
So the viewer knows, okay, this isn't quite real.
Exactly. It lets you process it with a more critical eye rather than just subconsciously absorbing an impossible ideal.
Now, naturally, whenever you talk about regulation, especially online, you get pushback. There are other perspectives, valid concerns people raise, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's never simple. The main counterarguments usually revolve around, freedom of speech and expression. That's a big one. Critics worry that too much regulation could stifle creators' ability to express themselves. Then there are the practical hurdles. How do you enforce these rules globally? Content comes from everywhere, reaches everywhere. It's a jurisdictional nightmare, potentially.
Yeah, that seems really complex.
And finally, there's the concern about harming the creator economy itself. Could strict rules limit opportunities for people who rely on these platforms for income, for creativity? These are all legitimate points that have to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so given those concerns, freedom of speech, global enforcement challenges, not wanting to kill the creator economy, how do we find a middle ground, a path forward that protects kids but respects these other points?
Well, the consensus from our sources seems to be that a balanced approach is not only possible, but it's really the only way forward. The focus of regulation shouldn't be on controlling someone's authentic opinion or their creative expression. That would be problematic.
Right.
Instead, the idea is to curb the deceptive commercial practices, the stuff that specifically targets the vulnerabilities of young people. It's about introducing a level of accountability and transparency similar to what we already expect from traditional advertisers.
So it's not about censoring creativity, it's about regulating the selling part, ensuring fair commercial practice.
Precisely. That's the crucial distinction. Regulate the commercial transaction, not the creative expression, ensure fair play in the marketplace.
Okay, that distinction is really helpful. So if we pull all these threads together, the need for protection, the potential regulations, the counter arguments, what does the ultimate solution look like? Is it just rules?
Not just rules, no. The most effective approach, based on everything we've looked at, seems to be a combination. It's sensible, targeted regulation, plus a major focus on education.
Education. You mean teaching kids about this stuff?
Exactly. We absolutely have to equip young people with digital literacy skills, teaching them how to critically evaluate the content they see every single day.
Like media literacy for the social media age.
Pretty much, teaching them the basics of advertising, how to spot it, even when it's subtle, helping them understand that social media is often a highlight reel, a curated reality, not the whole messy picture,
Okay.
and emphasizing the importance of their own mental well-being, especially when faced with all this comparison and consumer pressure. Empowering them with critical thinking is the other vital half of this.
So it's a two-pronged approach.
Yes. Create a safer, more transparent online space with smart regulation and empower the users, especially young ones, to navigate that space wisely. That way you protect mental health without necessarily dismantling the creator economy.
Wow. This deep dive has really covered a lot of ground. From understanding those tough impacts, the curated perfection, the nonstop consumerism, the blurred lines on youth mental health, to exploring concrete ideas like mandatory disclosure, banning deceptive filters, and seeing real-world examples like Norway and the UK taking action.
Yeah, and the key takeaway, I think, is that it's not really an either-or choice.
Yeah.
We don't have to pick between protecting young people and having a vibrant online creator space.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A mix of thoughtful regulation for transparency and accountability combined with really empowering young people through digital literacy. Knowledge and critical thinking skills are just so crucial in this environment.
It really does make you pause and think about the role we all play, doesn't it? As creators, as consumers, as just people guiding the next generation through this digital world. So maybe here's a thought to leave you with. Beyond the big policy debates, what's one small personal step you could take starting today to boost your own digital literacy?
Yeah.
How can you get better at critically looking at the content you scroll through daily, especially when it involves those aspirational lifestyles or product placements, maybe just pausing before clicking buy on something an influencer showed?
Or asking yourself, is this filtered? Is this real?
Exactly. Just adding that little layer of critical thought. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive today. We really hope this conversation helps you see the online world maybe with slightly fresher eyes.